Get ready, football fans. We have a doozy for you today. My name is Moose. Welcome into NFL Daily here by Chat Sports. Now, if you've clicked in on the video, you would think, hey, there's a big-time mock draft going on, and there was. You did miss it. We had our very first live NFL three-round mock draft made by Chat Sports here. So it is important to note, these are not the actual picks in the NFL draft, but what Chat Sports hosts here decided to make their picks at for their respective teams. So, without waiting any longer and making this video any longer than it needs to be, let's get into the picks, shall we? Coming in at number 1, Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. Really no shocker there, resetting the franchise after the Will Levis experiment has failed miserably. Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns, the dual threat wide receiver cornerback that will make an immediate impact to whatever team he plays, one of the greatest athletes that we have ever seen. Abdul Carter comes in at the 3rd pick to the Giants to pair alongside Kayvon Thibodeau, and I believe that duo is going to be something fierce on that defensive line for the New York Giants, followed by Will Campbell at number 4 to the Patriots. A lot of people have been speculating about Will Campbell and his arm size, and not to make a joke out of it, but the reach at 4, to me, no pun intended, doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. I think you can kind of flip him inside to guard at the worst, but I think to give him a shot at left tackle is something that I think a lot of NFL teams are willing to do, considering how well he tested at the combine outside of that arm length. So I like Will Campbell at number 4. Tyler Warren came in to the Jags at 5, and that I think is the first real shocker here. And Tyler Warren as a prospect, to me, I think he's great. Don't get me wrong. Is he worth going number 5? I think Brock Bowers showed us that, yes, it is possible that you could take a tight end that high, but let's consider this to be the possibility. It's not the most unbelievable tight end class, although it is quite deep, but his last year at Penn State was insane. 104 receptions, over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, 12 yards per reception. He's an absolute stud. So whatever team gets him is going to be really happy with him. I just don't think the Jaguars would go tight end with that pick. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. They need to bolster up that defensive line. Ashton Genty, the star running back out of Ohio State and the Heisman runner-up to Mr. Travis Hunter, goes to the Raiders at 6, followed by Armand Membu, bolstering up the offensive line for the Jets after they signed Justin Fields in free agency. And Mason Graham, who was originally mocked at 5, falls to Carolina at 8. That's a great get for the Carolina Panthers. Moving on, crazy things happening in New Orleans. This was actually a fan-made pick, by the way. Shedeur Sanders going to New Orleans to pair with Kellen Moore. Rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. Kellen Moore gets his franchise guy in Shedeur Sanders. Shedorlands is officially here. Mike Green to the Chicago Bears. Khalil Mack 2.0 is what I like to call him. Got the same measurables, same size comparison. Both played at smaller schools. Mike Green, a little bit faster. Love the pick. Jalen Walker, made by our very own Chipper, Mr. Jake Chipper, going to the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners get an excellent edge from Georgia. Really like his production. Big, strong, athletic freak on the edge, followed by Tet McMillan at number 12 to the Cowboys to pair alongside CeeDee Lamb as the number 2 wide receiver. Now, don't forget, when we do things like these NFL mock drafts or any game that we decide to post here and everything in between, sub for all the watch parties here at Chat Sports. We go live every Tuesday here on NFL Daily, so make sure you lock us in, hit the like button, and subscribe. It's completely free. Will Johnson comes in at number 13 for the Miami Dolphins, followed by Jihad Campbell at 14 to the Colts, where the pairing would be potentially Jihad Campbell and Zaire Franklin, a dynamic linebacker duo that I think is studly, one of the 2 best in the NFL straight out of the gate. The Atlanta Falcons select the hard-hitting safety out of South Carolina, Nick Eamon-Warry, followed by Donovan Ezraku, the edge out of Boston College. Again, one of those players from the ACC who just had an explosion his senior year. Really excited to see what kind of NFL pro he decides to become. Jahdae Barron loved this pick for the Cincinnati Bengals, who last year couldn't cover a bloody nose. I mean, it was just awful. Couldn't stop anything. So Jahdae Barron adds some much-needed cornerback help. He's my number 1 cornerback on this year's draft board. Love the pick. Colston Loveland goes to the Seattle Seahawks with 18 to help kind of not only bolster their offensive line, but also add another piece to Sam Darnold, followed by Shamar Stewart, not super high on this, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Omarion Hampton at number 20 to the Denver Broncos. Great pick considering how bad the running back room was for Denver last season. Derek Harmon, round 1, 21 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm surprised they didn't go quarterback here. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought this would be a Jackson Dart pick all day long, but Jack Sperry had other plans. So Derek Harmon, the hard-hitting defensive tackle out of Oregon, goes to the Steelers. Followed by Kenneth Grant, another hard-hitting safety, a bolstering of the defensive line, and we know Jim Harbaugh loves his O-line and his D-line. Followed by Luther Burden, some talent to the Green Bay Packers wide receiver committee room, and Malachi Starks to the Minnesota Vikings safety from Georgia. Then, instead of going offensive line, the Texans decide to go Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas, who's been flying up draft boards. Houston kid, stays in Houston. Calvin Banks, offensive tackle, or, well, now in this case, a guard for the Los Angeles Rams, comes in at pick 26, followed by James Pierce, the edge out of Tennessee, with some character issues. He has slid down some boards, and Walter Nolan coming in with the pick for the Lions, the nose tackle out of Ole Miss. To wrap up the round 1 picks, Jaden Higgins comes in. This was kind of a reach by Jack Sperry again, who's also doubling as the Washington Commanders host. Not a round 1 pick, in my opinion. More of a middle round 2, end of round 2, but nonetheless slides his way into round 1. Followed by Trey Amos, gets some cornerback help for the Buffalo Bills. Gray Zabel, the versatile offensive lineman, goes to the Kansas City Chiefs to replace Joe Thuney, and Mykel Williams, made by, again, Jake Chipper, the edge out of Georgia. Scary pick there with what we'll call now North Athens. All right, so what I want you to do is grade round 1 for me. Give it an A, B, C, D, or F. Out of all things considered, I thought most of this was pretty good. I'm going to give it a solid B. There were a couple reaches. The Tyler Warren pick was kind of crazy, but all things considered, very solid round 1 picks. All right, coming up, we are going to get into rounds 2 and 3. I told you it was a doozy. But before we do that, I have to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that, of course, is Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets, for your favorite events so unbelievably easy. All you have to do is download the Game Time app. It makes getting tickets faster and easier, especially with hard-to-get playoff seats, because the NBA playoffs is officially here. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest prices guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying those NBA playoff tickets. Save up to 60% off by buying last-minute for sports, concerts, comedy events, theater events, etc. Just go to the Game Time app in your app store. It's the black box with the white G in it. Download it and create an account and use code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. My fiance and I love to use the Game Time app whenever we go out on a night out on the town, whether that is to a ball game or any kind of event that we want to see. Game Time is the place where we get our tickets. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Okay, so round 2 starts off with an absolute bang. The Cleveland Browns select Iowa running back Caleb Johnson, who's got the hands, he's got the speed, he's got the agility. He is the full, complete package back that you were looking for outside of an Omarion Hampton and an Ashton Genty. Jerome Ford cannot be the guy going into that starting 2025 NFL season for the Cleveland Browns. I love this pick. Emeka Buka slides all the way down. He's on the opposite end now of Malik Neighbors in this one. Great 1-2 punch brewing in New York, followed by Kyle Williams, a little bit of a reach here for the Titans. A lot of people have him going in the middle of the 3rd, early 4th, but I understand that they need weapons, especially to complement Cam Ward. Followed by Josh Simmons, who's an excellent addition here for the Jacksonville Jaguars to help bolster that offensive line and protect Trevor Lawrence. Tyler Booker, one of my sleepers in the draft, goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. Love him. Huge reason why Jalen Milroe was able to have such a great running attack in the NFL. Unbelievable player. Love what he produces. Give me Trey Harris coming in at 38, though, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Not a huge receptions guy. Take the top off, stretch the field, big playmaking ability. Love Trey Harris. Josh Connerly comes into the Bears, and he might be one of the best offensive tackle prospects in this year's draft. I've heard a lot of talking about Josh Connerly, and I'm going to stick on him for just a moment because when it comes to Connerly's ability to not only pass block, I think he is going to make an excellent addition to whatever team on the offensive side of the football. Now, his run blocking is not great. He needs to get better at it. But your pass blocking needs to be your number one priority, especially at left tackle in 2025. And the Bears, we saw last season, let Caleb Williams out to die. It was the truth. So I love this pick for the Bears. Braxton Jones is an up-and-down player. Give me Josh Connerly to be potentially one of the best left tackle prospects in this year's draft with the Bears at 39. Mason Taylor, the LSU tight end, stays in New Orleans, adds a little bit more of that depth to their weapon room at tight end for Mr. Shedeur Sanders, who is mocked at quarterback in round 1. Quinshon Judkins, TJ Sanders, Maxwell Harrison, and Trevion Henderson. This is a great grouping right here. All 4 of these guys can play. TJ Sanders, I'm not going to lie, is a little bit more of a reach at 42. He is a sleeper pick. I have him a little bit lower at like 70 or so, but at 42, the Jets are getting a hell of a player. Maxwell Harrison, my second favorite cornerback on this board, falling to the 49ers. That's scary, especially because the 49ers love to run that zone coverage. Followed by Trevion Henderson, who goes to join Javonte Williams, who they picked up in free agency from Denver. Nick Scorton, JT Tuimalau, and Elic Aomaner come in at 45, 46, and 47. JT, I'm not going to lie to you, I was really low on at first. Then I went back and rewatched the tape. I don't know what I was looking at first. That dude is an absolute beast at Ohio State. I think adding him to a Falcons room that ranked dead last in sacks the last couple of years is an excellent move here. Followed by Elic Aomaner. Look, had some down years at Stanford, but I believe can turn into a really silky smooth prospect that can be a solid number 2 or number 3 on any team. And Donovan Jackson goes to the Dolphins, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Now, I've named a lot of players. Chip's named a lot of players. We here at Chat Sports have named a bunch of players. So I'm going to ask you to name another player. Who's your favorite in this year's draft? Mine is Mike Green in round 1. In round 2, I'd probably go a guy like Xavier Watts, who we're going to talk about here in just a second, but that's just my opinion. Throw that down in the comment section below. Tylik Williams, Tate Ratledge, Elijah Arroyo, and Jared Wilson come in at these next 4 picks at 49, 50, 51, and 52, respectively. One guy that I want to highlight here, Elijah Arroyo to Denver. He actually played a majority of his youth ball in Mexico, so they play a lot of a different game, he said in a recent interview. So looking at his numbers, these might not stand out to you. He's still learning the game. Make no mistake. For a guy who played his early high school days and middle school days in Mexico to come to the United States and learn how to replay football again is spectacular. I think he's got a decent blocking ability, but his strength isn't quite there yet. Put on a little bit more size, and once you do that, turn him into a little bit more of a blocking tight end who could also double as a red zone threat. I think you've got one hell of a steal in round 2. Darius Alexander, Landon Jackson, Jack Betch, and Xavier Watts I'm going to focus on here in just a little bit. Landon Jackson is an excellent pick, super underrated out of Arkansas, 6'6", a massive player. But he's not the guy that I want to mention here because the Green Bay Packers selected him. The Bills taking Xavier Watts. He's going to be the best safety in the NFL in 3 years. Mark it down. I'm telling you. There's nothing that this guy can't do. He was a former wide receiver. He knows how to play with his light feet. He can switch inside to linebacker. His free safety ability plays like a center fielder. He had 13 interceptions over the last 2 seasons, and he's a willing run defender that can climb up into the box and stuff a player at the line of scrimmage. He's got no fear. He's got great ball skills. He's got an ability to stop the run. He's got light on his feet. He's athletic, hard-hitting. What is there not to love about Xavier Watts? Mark it down. If the Bills get him, they are getting the best safety in the NFL in 3 years' time. I'm booking it down. All right. After my little rant is done, here's the next 4 picks. Savon Revel, a great little combination there with J.C. Horn in Carolina, followed by Ariante Ursary, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota, perhaps the most athletic and underrated offensive tackle in this year's draft. Followed by Jonah Savinanea, I think is how you pronounce his name. I could be butchering that. And Braden Swinson going to the Lions, edge out of LSU to pair on the opposite end of Aiden Hutchinson. Now, 61 through 64 looks like this to wrap up the second round. Kevin Winston Jr., Alfred Collins, bolstering up the Bills' defensive line after they added Joey Bosa, Larry Ogunjobi, and Michael Hoyt in free agency, and Jalen Noel to pair with Patrick Mahomes as another wide receiver threat, and Anthony Belton rounding out the offensive tackle out of North Carolina State. You with me so far? Good. We've got one more round to cover, but before we get there, like the video. Helps us put more stuff on your timeline all the time. And if you want more coverage from Chat Sports or anything that we have to offer, whether it be football, basketball, or now even baseball, click that like button. Let's start off round number 3. Now, Mr. Producer Jake Chipper also knows this. We're going to try and speed through these a little bit more so that we're not wasting your time with all of these guys and all this information. Cam Skattebo comes in at number 69 to the New England Patriots, which is insane work. I am a huge fan of Cam Skattebo, right? There's nothing that this guy can't do. He is a beast when it comes to finding his hole and powering through. His numbers last year prove it tremendously at Arizona State. And actually, he got into the passing game a little bit as well. So I'm a big fan of Cam Skattebo. He had over 20 touchdowns last year. He's good in the run game, good in the pass game, and can double as that outside threat, but also downhill runner. I love him at the Patriots to pair with Drake May, who needs all the weapons that he can get. Xavier Restrepo comes in at number 70, which is way too high of a pick. Jalen Royals comes in, and then Andrew Makuba comes in at 72 for the Bears, a safety out of Texas to pair outside of Jaquan Brisker. Now, here are the next, we'll call them 8 picks. Ezra Thomas, who falls way down in this draft. Princely Umalamalian, Noah Williams, Jordan Birch, Jackson Dart in this one. The next quarterback after Shedeur Sanders falls to the Arizona Cardinals, followed by Wyatt Milam, the guard out of West Virginia, who might play offensive tackle, goes to the Texans, and Demetrius Knight Jr., the linebacker out of South Carolina, going to the Colts. Jack Sawyer, Tez Johnson, Jalen Milroe goes to the Steelers in this one at pick 83. And then a bunch of other guys like Darian Porter going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, by the way, Darian Porter started his career as a wide receiver at Iowa State, only has played about a year and a half as a true cornerback. Jalen Milroe, by the way, I don't see this ever happening. Steelers fans love him for whatever reason. I can't see it. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback at all, truthfully. I think he's a bad mechanics, though, but a mechanical throw over the football. He's got athleticism that's raw and powerful, but he's just not a developed passer. And I just don't see that, improving as he gets to the next level. So having him as like a Taysom Hill type of player is what he's going to end up most likely being. All right, 89 through 96 looks like this. Kobe Bryant, Tyler Shuck, the quarterback out of Louisville, going to the Rams to back up Matt Stafford and eventually take over that position. Savion Williams, the wide receiver, but kind of like gadget player. I call him Diet Cordell Patterson. He goes to the Saints. Devin Neal, the running back out of Kansas, goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, so he stays in that area. And Jacob Parrish, the cornerback out of Kansas State, going to the Eagles. This is the last couple of picks here, followed by a couple more. These are the last 6 that we're going to get into. Vernon Broughton to the Minnesota Vikings, defensive tackle out of Texas. Miles Frazier, the guard out of LSU. Charles Grant, the offensive tackle out of William and Mary. And coming in the last couple of guys, Dorian Strong, the cornerback from Virginia Tech, goes to the Rams. Kind of a lengthier corner, in my opinion. Great at the point of attack, not a great coverage corner. And Mr. Irrelevant in this draft when it comes to the first 3 rounds is Jared Ivey, the edge out of Ole Miss, who is a massive human being. 6'6", 275 pounds, but doesn't have any speed or any burst off the edge. So he'd have to lose about 15 pounds if he wants to be elite in this league. Oh my gosh, Mr. Producer, how'd I do? Pretty good? Yeah, good stuff, he says. All right, if you've made it to the end, type real one. I realize these longer draft videos are just a ton to get through. And if you made it all the way to the end, show us you did by typing real one in the comment section below. That's going to do it for us on today's episode of NFL Daily. My name is Moose. Until next time, be cool.